Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Paul Brooker, and today I am joined by the wonderful Joy Warren. Hello, Joy. How are you?
Hi, thank you very much for asking me on your show, and I'm perfectly fine, thank you.
Brilliant, Joy. So, obviously, this is the first time you're on the show. Could I ask you just to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, okay. I've been running fluoride fluoride free lines UK since 2017, and before that, I was looking after West Midlands against fluoridation. Before that, I was a member of National Pure Water Association, and in 2002, I got myself a BSc in environmental science. And then I got myself a certificate in health and nutrition, and somewhere along the way, I got the University of Warwick conservation certificate as well. So well-rounded. I've been interested in fluoridation since 2002, but it wasn't until 2003 that I decided that it was a thoroughly bad governmental intervention. And I thought, this isn't right. It can't go on. Why are people putting poison in drinking water? And it's taken me a long time to suss out all the actors in this situation, in this governmental policy. And clearly, you think, well, why? And you think, is it the MPs? Is it the government, or is it somebody behind the government who's pushing for this? And you come to the conclusion that it's the establishment, and who's running the establishment, the perennial civil servants. And I'm a really big fan of Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. So I think I've seen the bottom of the rabbit hole, and it's not a very pleasant sight at all. So, because of learning about fluoridation back in 2002, as I say, I've spent my last 23 years trying to fight this and becoming more and more knowledgeable and more scandalized about what's happening to us.
Well, Joy, thank you for that introduction. And fluoride is something that I've gone down the rabbit hole on as well, and a lot of our viewers have. And me personally, I've changed my toothpaste. I now don't use a fluoride-based toothpaste, and I can tell you now, I don't see a difference. If you want whiter teeth, maybe stop having things like coffee and other things that cause your teeth to colour. My teeth are still just as good as they were when I used to use fluoride-based
Mm.
toothpaste, I should say. But Joy, it sounds like you've even got the qualifications to go with this fight.
Yes, it has been so useful to know how to understand chemical formulas. I was never very good at chemistry, but I do understand the basics. And because of that, I don't over-explain things because I don't want to lose anybody on the way.
Yes, absolutely. So, Joy, what started you on this fluoride fight?
Because I discovered that it was an awful thing to have to add into water for something I didn't need because I wasn't a tiny tot. And it's been claimed that it's put in because there are so many children who get dental decay because they don't avoid sugary foods and drinks and they don't clean their teeth. No one's looking at the poor water quality they have, not just fluoridated water, but ordinary tap water. Sometimes you find that it has so little natural minerals in it that it's not doing anybody any good at all. For example, there's a place in Birmingham called Ladywood. It's a district which is given soft water from the Elan Valley in Wales. And that has got about 2 milligrams of magnesium in it. Well, we need about 50 milligrams of magnesium a day because it's an essential enzyme, mineral. So why would these children flourish only getting 2 milligrams a day? And they don't. Ladywood children in 2019, age 5, of the children examined, 50%, 50% had dental decay. The average for England's about 23, 24%.
Wow.
They're fluoridated.
Oh, oh, wow. That's crazy. I mean, oh, the, I've got my own thoughts, and we talked briefly off camera, funnily enough. And I said, one of the craziest things I found out about fluoride is you put it in a high enough concentration in a single spot, it is powerful enough to eat concrete. And that blew my mind. And now to hear that stat on children having massive dental decay, wow, fluoride. Uh, why do they want to give us fluoride?
It's convenient. It was convenient back in 1947 when America started using it. They had to get rid of hazardous waste from the phosphate fertilizer manufacturers and the aluminium smelters. It cost a lot of money to dispose of it to make it neutral. So some clever spark found out that people living in Colorado Springs, I think it is, or in Texas, for example, with high levels of natural fluoride in their drinking water, had very strong teeth. They didn't lose them to decay. That was a bit of how can I say, a smoke screen and mirrors thing. The people in those parts of America had brown stained teeth. And that was because the teeth were damaged by the fluoride, which apparently made the enamel harder but more brittle and coloured. And they spun this particular thing so much so that the whole of America became mesmerized by it. And they gradually introduced it in the next 5 years into most of America. These days, about 70% of America is fluoridated, and another 5 to 10% has got natural fluoride, which is quite high. So you can imagine Americans do not have pearly white teeth as we are led to believe. Only the ones in adverts, the ones where they had little sparkles when you see them on the films.
Yes.
So, but it sort of traveled to UK in 1955, where we went under trials in 4 different places to see whether it was working. And lo and behold, it really stopped dental decay. Yes, another spin. It was declared as being a successful experiment and therefore no longer an experiment in 1968 by the then Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Godber. But in the meantime, 1965, Birmingham, given some money by America as a grant, started fluoridating Birmingham itself, and then it spread throughout the West Midlands. So, why is it there? Because it's always been believed that it reduces dental decay. In the beginning, it probably did because there was no fluoridated toothpaste to help. And obviously, the diet after the war wasn't as good as it could have been, but it got better. And as time has gone by, our oral hygiene has improved enormously. Apart from in the areas where they have fluoride in the water, where, shall we just say, I don't think fluoride is very good for the gums, and it certainly can, eat into the cementum, which fixes the gums to the teeth. But it's still being pushed. But we find that it doesn't actually reduce dental decay as much as it should thought to reduce decay. The last research study was in 2023 and 24, where it was found that it reduced decay in 5-year-olds in Cumbria by 3%, which is nothing. It's just basically one filling, really. And then they looked at adults and they found there was no difference in the teeth between fluoridated adults and non-fluoridated adults. So there you go. It's not really working at all. It's such a waste of money where they could have actually been handing out toothbrushes and toothpaste to school kids or to nurseries. That would have been fine as long as it wasn't fluoridated toothpaste. But unfortunately, it is. And
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, something I understand now and is actually quite terrifying is whenever they've got an industrial process byproduct that they don't know what to do with it in a normal way, they find a reason to introduce it into our food and drinking water. And that's across the board. We have a lot of strange chemicals that are appearing in food, in drinks, in drinking water, of all things. And you've got to sit here and go, what's the reason? You're telling me all of a sudden, oh my God, this is amazing. No, it's not. Somebody out there has gone, tell me all the properties of this product because we need to find a use for it because we got barrels and barrels of it sitting there doing nothing. And if we leave it there, it's going to leak, cause some sort of natural disaster, and we're going to be held accountable. How do we get rid of it? Well, let's slowly drip it into the human eating cycle is the only way to describe it. And they tried to do it local to me in a place called Southampton. Luckily, it got voted against fluoride in the water. But as you said, I didn't know there was actually places in the UK that had fluoridation in the water. I mean, that's the first I've heard about it, Joy. And I'm sitting here going, how can they let this continue? Because, we've got children now with brittle teeth and severe tooth decay. This is not good for what's going on in the UK. Why do they keep trying to push this agenda?
All right. The sensible answer would be because there aren't enough dentists doing the NHS treatments. So you've got to try and excuse the lack of dentists by saying, oh, well, we're doing something else for you. We're putting stuff in the drinking water, which is reasonably okay. It works. It's not as good as going along to have an examination, but at least we're stopping dental decay and we're stopping extractions of teeth in hospital. And because dentists cannot extract teeth of young children, they have to be sent to hospital. And that costs the NHS a lot of money. If it was spread around all the dentists, it wouldn't be so obvious. And then they say, well, if we put it in the drinking water, there'll be less extractions. Yeah, numerically possibly, but when you look at it per area and you look at the rate of extractions and the rate of dental decay, the rate of extractions in fluoridated Newcastle are greater than the rate of extractions in non-fluoridated Darlington, Stockton-on-Tees, Middlesbrough, County Durham, wherever they're going to put it in next. Per 100,000 children, there are more extractions in fluoridated areas than in non-fluoridated areas. So they can't prove that it works, but unfortunately, the NHS is pretending, peddling, was it like paddling like hell underwater to keep afloat? No one is going to ever admit from government or NHS that it doesn't work. Why? Because we believe the establishment wants us to have fluoride in our drinking water. It's not for teeth. It's always been a poor excuse. These days we believe and we know that it silts up the pineal gland, which helps us to sleep and which produces melatonin. And melatonin is an essential hormone which does protect the breast against cancer. And it also helps us to sleep. And if we don't sleep, we're stressed and we're not doing our best in life. And if you're not really happy in life, you don't want to consider controversial subjects. You want to get on with life by trying to find food, shelter, and clothing. And that's the problem. In the West Midlands, I suspect that people are just basically dumbed down, which is what happens when you lose a full functionality of your pineal gland, which is outside the blood-brain barrier. It's not protected at all. So it's got calcium in it, so therefore it attracts fluoride. And we silt it up, and then it becomes a diseased organ.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know the level that to that level what fluoride can do. I mean, go back a few years, all I cared about was just earning my money, find out how much I've got left to spend on myself after paying everything else that stresses me out in life. And I couldn't care less what happened in bigger politics because I was just working too hard. And now I'm sitting here thinking, wow, were there things put into my lifestyle to get me to that? And now you've just explained that. That's made me sit here and go, because now more than ever, and I don't know if it's because I gave up on fluoride toothpaste, who knows? I'm more invested in the politics of the UK than ever because I want the best for this country because I want everybody to be not stressed. Why should we stress about paying bills and everything like that? So I did not realise fluoride affects us like that. I understood about it possibly causing cancer, but I didn't understand how it went down those roads to cause cancer. And thank you for that explanation there.
It's probably an indirect pathway to cancer. I'm not saying it causes cancer. Yet some people did say that in America, after 2 decades, there were thousands of more cancer deaths in fluoridated areas. But it was a very, very difficult correlation to prove. And these days, we're more interested in the damage to our bones because fluoride makes them denser and weaker because it stops the production of collagen. We're more interested in hypothyroidism because fluoride displaces any iodide you might have in your body at the thyroid gland receptor sites. Therefore, you're not producing thyroxine, and therefore your body flips over into hypothyroidism, which is a really debilitating illness and strikes older ladies just at a time when they're getting ready to look after their grandchildren and allow the parents to go out to work. It destroys the fabric of society. Not just, a family, it's a tragedy for one family. It destroys society across the board. And now, since September 24, we have got research evidence produced during a 7-year court trial in California that fluoride poses an unreasonable risk to the IQ of children.
Wow.
Now, we've known about this since 2016. It took 7 years for the judge to decide to rule on this particular aspect of fluoridation. And he's asked the Environmental Protection Agency to do something about it. But the stupid bastards have decided to appeal. But not to appeal against the ruling, but to appeal against the jurisdiction of the judge.
Wow.
I don't know if they're going to win. I don't think they will. I think we will be able to start the race to getting fluoride out of America's water and then out of ours at the same time, I hope. In the meantime, because of this ruling, 28 million people have been released from fluoridation in America, and that's in Florida and in Utah State and about 60 other different communities. And it's basically trickling through, and more communities are saying, we don't want it in our drinking water. That's
Fantastic.
so that's IQ. They're very, very concerned. Now, we're concerned about the Americans because they do seem to be rather ill most of the time. And they have so many toxins and pollutants going into their bodies. And they have processed food, and they have omega-6 oils instead of omega-3, and that doesn't do them any good. And the processed food just basically bypasses all the good metabolic pathways, and they're just basically ill most of the time, as far as I can gather. Forget your pearly whites, the American pearly whites. They don't really exist that much. Well, ones you see, of course, are in adverts or are on films or on TV.
Yes, yes.
So what else? What else does fluoride cause? Skin problems, gum problems. Um, it attacks all the enzymes in the body. So if it's gradually the enzymes are damaged, then you're going to be sort of bumping along the bottom. Not exactly in hale and hearty health, not exactly dying, but you certainly are too weak to do any protesting. So it's such a bad thing. And I think it is deliberately done now because there's nothing to do with teeth. It's done in order to keep us quiet so that the establishment can get on with its nefarious plans for civilization by 2030.
Yes, yes. And just touching on you talking about Americans here, and I do apologize to our American audience. I was in Disney 3 years ago with my children, and I walked around and I noticed something that took my breath away. Everybody who wore a short sleeve top, for the most part, had one of those little discs on their arm, monitoring diabetes and all the rest of it. And I just thought that, and it's quite expensive to have fresh meals cooked in America. I didn't know this. I stayed out there a few years ago again, and we self catered. I didn't realize how expensive it is to buy natural, healthy food. Like, it's so much more expensive than the UK, which is where all these weird fast food restaurants come from, where you can eat highly processed food because it's made dirt cheap. So it is dirt cheap. And as you rightly said, the illnesses are phenomenal in America, what they're all ill with and everything like that. But you can see that filtering across to the UK. There's more and more coming to the UK. It is expensive to eat healthy in the UK now. And going back to the fluoridization of UK drinking and everything, we're copying America. You've just got to look at America, and we are the mirror image of America, or will be, depending on what happens. And the fact that you've now taken up the gauntlet to fight against fluoridization of the water is absolutely fantastic. And I sit here saying thank you first and foremost, because I know what fluoride can do to the human body. I went down that rabbit hole. I did the research, and it is absolutely scary out there. My next question for you, though, is is this permanent what fluoride does to you? Can you reverse it? Is it as simple as just stopping taking fluoride into your body?
Um, Simple. It's not simple because you have to work out where the fluoride is in your environment, in your food, in your water, and everything you touch may have got fluoride in it. For example, frying pans, Teflon,
Yeah.
got fluoride in it. You don't want to burn them because obviously you'll be inhaling the fumes. And it's welded to aluminium. So aluminium fluoride is the worst thing for your brain. Apparently, it causes Alzheimer's, dementia.
Sorry, can I just jump in here? Did you say Teflon, as in what is coated on our saucepans, has fluoride in?
Yeah,
Wow.
Tef, because
Yep.
Teflon.
Wow, I didn't know that. I know Teflon came from a military coating for vehicles, and it was so good at stopping water that they then started applying it to saucepans and things. I did not know that. Wow. Uh, how they hide fluoride? Because when you said your environment, I was like, well, it's just in my drinking water and my toothpaste, isn't it? Where else is fluoride located?
Then your Guinness.
In Guinness? No.
It's made in Ireland using Irish fluoridated water.
Wow.
It's in your Pepsi Max.
Is it?
Yeah, as well as the grotty aspartame or aspartame,
Yep.
however you want to pronounce it. It's made in Rugby by Britvic under license to PepsiCo, and Britvic use tap water to make up the concentrate, and Rugby is fluoridated.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Is there any other products that they hide it in that we somehow consume into our body? The
Any
drinks is amazing. I'm shocked at the drinks.
Yeah. Any food manufactured in a fluoridated area which uses water is going to contain fluoride. Now, it's going to contain a weak solution of hexafluorosilicic acid, which is the actual main ingredient put into the drinking water to fluoridate us.
Yeah.
It is not legal to add hexafluorosilicic acid to food. So
Oh,
all the companies which are using tap water in a fluoridated area are breaking the law, but the law has never been tested in court. So until it is, we can't sort of tell them to stop. We've told the chambers of commerce about this, and it didn't take any notice whatsoever. There is a UK law which is based on a retained EU law which lists all the permitted additives to food, and hexafluorosilicic acid is not one of them. Now, when it goes into drinking water, it breaks down a bit, but of course the components are still there, and they are all together added to the fluoride, to the food.
oh wow. I'm a little taken back actually by finding out what fluoride is in, and I didn't think it had integrated into our food supply as much as it has done. And I literally thought the fight was drinking water. I really did. But now the fight is so much bigger. It's a massive fight to stop this. And
All right.
but
Um,
going back to the oh sorry, Joy, after
I'm
you.
just saying, because the World Health Organization has recommended that adults should not have more than 6 milligrams of fluoride a day. And that would have been attainable when fluoride was first added to drinking water. But then when we started to have fluoridated toothpaste, and then the food became contaminated with fluoride, and it's now in Teflon and all the other non-stick coatings, um, then clearly it's easy to overdose or be overexposed to fluoride. But the big one, and I'm not quite sure if you drink tea, Indian tea bags, yeah,
I drink green tea. I love green tea.
that's fine. The thing
Oh,
is, all all tea which comes from the Camellia sinensis tea bush, the ones you see the tea pickers picking in the Brook Bond tea PG Tips adverts, yes?
yes.
Right. All varieties, all sub-varieties of that bush are fluoride accumulators.
They
So,
soak it up.
yeah, they soak it up. That's right. Now, it could be watered with well water, from a fluoridated, naturally fluoridated area in that part of the world, or they could be fertilized with phosphate fertilizer, grow more, which contains fluoride, or they could have fluoride in the soil naturally, which comes up via the rock cycle. As the rocks come to the surface, are degraded by sun and wind and rain, they break down, become soil, and the fluoride in that soil is taken up
Yeah.
by the tea bush. The older leaves in a tea bush have more fluoride in than the younger leaves.
Yeah.
So if you have bog standard tea, which doesn't cost very much, it's going to have far more fluoride in it than very, very expensive teas, which do not grow in soil under which fluoride is coming to the surface.
Yeah. Wow. So let's just go back to the original question. If I manage to stop all the sources of fluoride now entering my body, am I permanently damaged from fluoride or is it reversible?
I think it's reversible. The problem is it accumulates in bones, and that's the last tissue to lose the fluoride if you stop drinking and eating fluoride. Oh, by the way, also absorbing it when you're having a bath, which is not so good either. So you can, I feel sure it. There are certain minerals you can take, boron in particular, which helps to chelate the fluoride out of the body. And that's eventually will hopefully get to the bones. And I've been dry for 21 years now. No, more than that, 24 years. And I I feel that my bones are as strong as they should be at my age. I don't feel any weakness at all. And I haven't got any chronic ill health at all, not even the hypothyroidism, which strikes the older lady, as it were. You can get it out of your body, but you have to be very careful, very studious to avoid it in all shapes and forms, now and into the future. And to help your body to recover, start supplementing with vitamins, vitamin B, D. Um, D is the most important. B's are very, very important. But all the others, C, not too much A, definitely not too much A, some E, and yeah, you want K2 to go with your D3 to help make the D3 work properly. Just look after your health. Keep away from processed foods. Try for organic if you can. And
Yeah.
obviously keep away from plastics as well, because that doesn't help. Um, because that accumulates in the body as well. That's nothing to do with fluoride, of course, unless, of course, it's the forever chemical type of plastic.
Yeah.
So you can recover, but you must also take into account that if you are deficient in iodide, it's a case of asking your doctor to recommend an iodide supplement to help the thyroid and endocrine health get better.
Wonderful. Well, Joy, thank you for that massive insight into fluoride. We did talk earlier about who do we think is responsible for this fluoride push? Who do you think is responsible for it? Is it just big industry going, we've got all this fluoride lying around, we need to just get it out there? Or do you think there is something more at play here?
It was to begin with that they wanted to get rid of the waste product, and they couldn't get it. They couldn't put it into the sea, and they couldn't put it directly into rivers or lakes because it was so poisonous. Then they decided it was a good idea to drip feed it into drinking water. I mean, that is scandalous, outrageous. But
Mm.
there you go. And eventually, because 99% of it isn't drunk, it's drip fed into the rivers anyway and goes into the estuaries, into the sea, where the sea can cope with it, but the rivers can't, and the fish in the rivers can't either. Um, then it sort of escalated because fluoride became a protected element because it was implicated or used in the nuclear bomb industry, and they had to give it a nice clean look. So otherwise, people would have started to remonstrate. So therefore, fluoride became the protected substance or the protected poison, if you like. And then somebody else came along and said, "Oh, this is good. We can keep the population." calmed down. We don't have to worry. And more they found out, the better it became for them because, hey, we can control people. Yes, or we can actually know it reduces fertility, so perhaps we can control the population that way. Oh, and we also know, we do know, don't we, guys, that it actually does cause ill health, and that means that people die sooner rather than later, so we get their pensions not
Yeah.
paid out.
Yes.
So all in all, it became a tumbling policy wagon, if you
Yes.
like, and that now we're at a case of depopulation. We want to try and reduce the population, not just stop fertility, not just kick the older people off this mortal coil. We really do need to reduce population.
Yeah.
So fluoride is just one of those substances which we have to put up with, um, and as well as other things, that all conspire to make us weaker and less strong mentally, make us faint-hearted, make us afraid and stressed out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting here and I'm like, for those that don't know, and this is another rabbit hole when you go down it, you start to understand again, as Joy rightly touched on, the depopulation agenda. This is Agenda 2030, which is where they need total control over us. They need the population reduced down to a manageable 500 million. And there's a lot of tools at play where they are making this happen. And we've got to sit here and recognize this because if not, we are the good lemmings that are marching to our own deaths. And we can't complain about it because the writing was on the wall. And we are seeing now a massive uptake. RFK Jr. in the USA, he's just turned around and said about vaccines. I suggest everybody go over there and have a look at that video he's just done, where he's saying, did we need as many vaccines? He's now looking at the food industry. He's now slowly, because what we have realised, and Joy, you probably understand this, if you go to somebody and say, fluoride's evil, don't take it, blah, 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 here's it all, they look at you glazed over like you're some sort of mad person. And you and I both know you have to drip feed the truth, the facts out to people so they can understand it. And right at the beginning of the show, as you said, you took all these qualifications so you could explain it to people in a simple term. And this is where we are at. And it is a war, technically. It's a war for our lives, it's a war for our children's lives. And this is where people like yourself doing this work, dare I say it, doing God's work, is needed. And I thank you for that, Joy. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Right. So because we in the anti-fluoridation community are so scandalized about having this stuff put in our drinking water and having it rolled out across the northeast soon, another 1.6 million people will be fluoridated soon if we can't stop it. We've decided to challenge the government in a legal group challenge, which is basically a letter before claim to the government's solicitors. And we'll be quoting all the reasons why they shouldn't be fluoridating us, and then sitting back for about 2 weeks and waiting for their reply. And then we just decide on what we're going to do next. That may end up in a court case. But apparently, as far as we're concerned, the government is breaking the law, but the law has to be tested in a court of law. So the law which we know about is the one. I won't go into too many details. I don't want to give the game away, but we know there are at least 3 or 4 laws which are being pieces of legislation which have been broken, which can only be tested in a court of law. And if a judge finds for us, then of course that would make it more difficult for the government to continue fluoridating. The most important point is that fluoridated water is medicine. It's compulsory medicine, and we're not asked. It's put in the drinking water to increase the resistance of consumers to dental decay. Therefore, it's a prophylactic, rather like vaccines. But
Yeah,
unlike vaccines, you have to get permission from people to be vaccinated. But for fluoride, fluoridated water, you do not. It's legalized. It was legalized in 1985 by Margaret Thatcher, by the way. So because it's a medicine, we shouldn't have to do medicine compulsorily. Only people who do not have mental capacity can be made to have medicine compulsorily. And the majority of the people of England, last time I looked, they were perfectly sane and were not to be sectioned. So that's
Yeah,
the most important thing of all. Once we have established in a court of law in England that fluoridated water is a medicine, it's really game over. So we
yeah,
have to get to court.
yep, most definitely. Joy, thank you for coming on the show today. What are your links on how everybody can get in contact with you? Join this class action that you are planning on proposing.
We're
The
halfway through. We're halfway through the the getting the claimants together
yeah,
stage. We've got a website which you can start with, homepage www.fffauk.org. Homepage is all people need to see, but if they want to have a look at the resources pages, that they are very informative. Once you get onto the homepage, that can take you to the registration form, which is hosted by a friend and partner of our barrister, and that's kingfisherjustice.co.uk. That's Kingfisher one word. Kingfisherjustice.co.uk. If anybody wants to get in touch with me directly, my email address is WM AF, that's West Midlands Against Fluoridation.co.uk. And that's gets me, and I always answer my own emails. So, you know, I tell the truth when I do it, and I'm really fast at doing it. Um, so there you go. There's lots of books on the market you can buy. One of the brilliant ones is The Fluoride Deception by ex-BBC journalist Chris Bryson, which gives the story of fluoridation from the beginning in America. And it's about 10 years old now. There are lots of good books out there which are against fluoridation and only one or two which are in favor. So you can see which way the cookie crumbles here. The ones who are in favor have got nothing to say on their behalf because they can't justify what they're doing. They can't prove that it reduces dental decay. These days we know it reduces it by about 3%, which is paltry. They can't prove that it's safe. Definitely can't prove it because there's no studies to show that it's safe, but lots of studies to show that it is not safe to ingest or to absorb through the skin or to drink in
brilliant.
tea.
Well, who would have thought tea could have contained fluoride? But thank you so much for that. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching today. And please check out the links. We're going to put them down below in the description. So if you want to join the fight in the UK to stop fluoridization in our water, in our food, in our products, in our heads, in our bodies, please go down there, take 2 minutes, sign the letters, send them out there. Please help Joy fight the good fight. So, Joy, thank you once again for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Well, thank you, Paul, very much. Goodbye.
No worries. Take care, everyone. God bless. Bye now.